Today, folks, are you just slow or are you stupid? Because this is a question I'm asking myself as these clowns line all of you lemmings up at the very edge of a cliff to soon see what happens when you jump off, because you didn't clearly learn anything over the last few years watching all of these bubbles burst as we head into another AI clownish market that I'm going to bring back down to reality. Because the fact is if we base everything off future expectations into current valuations, you should just be bullish on things like Tesla. All your money should just be in Tesla, because who can't say that robotics and self-driving aren't some of the biggest markets that'll ever exist? Now, who knows if that's true, but how do you value it today when a guy like Elon has promised it to us for the last 5 years and it still doesn't exist? I don't know. That's why I'm not betting on it, and I'm hoping to save you, some of you clowns, from losing all of your money, because that's what tends to happen in a market that we're currently seeing when these bubbles start to form. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't hate Palantir. I don't want to talk about their software or the future expectations. I just want to talk about the realities of today. And do those realities make sense for the stock price? Because I'm promising you, when we actually take a look at the bullshit around their EPS and the growth and the AI software, you're going to quickly realize that there's something weird going on here. And it's a little bit, not what you'd think. And I'm going to tell you what made me want to make this video. Don't hit the dislike button yet, folks, because I'm going to bring things to reality. I'm one of those guys that would always agree that, hey, even when I own Tesla, I want to hear every bear statement. I want to know what the bears think, so I can take that information in as a logical investor and see, hey, does that align with my bull thesis, or am I missing something? Are the bears right? Maybe they are. Maybe I shouldn't be buying the stock at over $15 a share, like a almost $40 billion valuation. But let's see. Because I saw this little quote here saying, "This move is not hype. This is based upon a signed multi-year military contract, which is all pure 100% earnings, adding on to that EPS, that juicy, wonderful cash flow, that shit that hits the bottom line, baby." And this guy has no idea what he's talking about. This is the most bullshit thing I've ever seen. And bear with me, okay? I'm going to get to the reality of why their EPS is bullshit. So just take a breath. I know you're so bullish. You're like snorting this like it's crack cocaine, and you got to get that hit of that next bull run, right? I'm sorry. This is going to be a lot of satire, because I'm just tired of listening to people like like Jeremy here hype you all up, because he's like, why would you sell Palantir stock? This is a company that's going to do what Tesla did. They're going to see their cash flow go to the moon. They're going to get listed on the S&P 500 ETFs, and guess what? Then all that ETF money is going to take us even higher. And, from a guy that always has one win, every dog has his day. What has Jeremy done in the last 2 years to show that he made any money? What was it, Voyager? Was it Tattooed Chef? Was it Planet 13? I can't remember stock this guy picked where he made money. I got to stop doing the Georgian accent. My fiance makes fun of me because I grew up in the North, and she calls those my people. So maybe I can use the accent in a non-offensive way, because it's kind of my background a little bit. I'm not from Georgia. I grew up on a sheep farmer here that has more common sense than the clowns that exist on the current YouTube, because I can show you my charts. And of all the clowns, I like to consider myself the king of the hill, because I made real returns, and I got out. I played the market from an emotionally strong standpoint. So let's hope that helps some of you idiots today not ruin your financial futures. Because again, I don't mind you put a little bit of money in this, but I still think if you're buying it right now, you're going to lose that little bit of money. Let me explain to you why. Firstly, again, other clowns. And I think Morningstar actually had a fairly, more tame view that was a little bit more accurate, but still bullshit you and try and like lull you into the sense of non-existent reality, because their fair value estimate is $9. They said their Morningstar uncertainty rating is very high. So let's just read these two anecdotes. Earnings were slightly above our estimates, but the outperformance was offset by the fact that firm's annual outlook was largely similar to what it had provided previously. We see this as perhaps a case of pull forward demand. I love that pull forward demand. It's like Tesla all over again. To provide some context, Palantir's most recent quarter was a $20 million beat of expectations, but the firm's guidance for the full year was revised upward. Only $5 million? Nothing crazy here, folks. But if you're bullish on Palantir and its artificial intelligence opportunity, the earnings provide plenty of reason to be optimistic. CEO Alex Karp had these sound bites like, "We will take the entire market about AI." For other investors, and from our perspective, it is a show me story. We are waiting for an acceleration in billings, remaining performance obligations, and deferred revenues, the typical forward-looking indicators for tech firms, which will indicate significant client interest in Palantir AI offering. So again, this is stuff that I've heard all the clowns say. Jeremy saying, hey, like it's going to be like a domino effect. You just get a few of them and they're all going to come flying on, and we'll talk about clients that they're attracting operating, because we're going to see what kind of sector they're operating in and if it's worth it. Now, first thing as well, the highest price target on Yahoo from analysts was $15, and we're at 15. Well, we're going to the moon, baby. This is a moon stock. Lowest was 5, highest was 15. Anybody that could run 2 cents of free cash flow math in their head, or even projected revenue for the sector here based off forward EPS or price to sales, stuff like that, the stock should be maybe around $6-7 at the higher end. I'd say I'd rather buy it around 5, and it never quite got there, right? I mean, the stock hit around 6. Congrats to you guys that bought in this area. This was where you wanted to pick it up, right? This was the area of you're making a huge return in under a year, and if you're not an idiot like I wasn't, you're going to take profit. Anytime you double your money in under a year, you take profit. But something tells me most of the people pumping you to the stock, they're going to do two things. They're not going to show you their past performance, and they're the kind of people that bought up here and they had to cost average down here, and they're probably lucky if they're breaking even right here. And right here is still a clownish area to be buying this stock. Again, I'm going to get to why. Just bear with me. I know, guys. I know you're so bullish. I know you can't get over the reality of life sometimes. But let me bring this down to earth. So firstly, let's talk about the cash. Before we talk about revenue growth, let's talk about cash. So their cash went from $1 billion to about $2.6 billion toward the end of 2022. Why does the cash matter? Well, obviously it comes from dilution. I mean, 1.5 billion shares to just under 2.1 billion shares. They're going to be diluting you up here too if they were smart, because they want more cash. Why would this company need more cash? Who needs more than 2 billion? They came to the market at the best possible time during the hype era of 2020, 2021. Anyone coming public in the venture capital market now that doesn't have free cash flow is going broke. They can't raise money. How do you raise money in a market like this? Well, you need two things. You need cash flow, and everybody knows this, and you need AI. If you have cash flow and AI, you're going to the moon. And, the CEO knows this. Like, he knows this. So how has he manipulated you to make it look like, they're doing amazing? Well, if we dig into their balance sheet, and you're not going to see it up here, you're going to read through this, and you're not going to see much other than net income of 17 million. This marks our second consecutive quarter positive GAAP net income. Bullshit. A little bit of bullshit. I'll explain to you why. It's so ridiculous. Earnings per share, 0.01 cent. Adjusted EPS, 0.05 cents. Total revenue grew 18% year over year, which is good to be in a bearish market, but not as good as some of the other companies we're about to discuss. But let me scroll down, because you're not going to understand the reality unless you actually do some real homework, which I'm just surprised nobody talks about this. Nobody. It kind of seems insane to me that no one talks about it, because let me show you where the hidden juicy gems of bullshit exist in this balance sheet. Firstly, gross profit's amazing. The company made 417 million off 525 for gross profit, and then we get into the operating expense. Sales and marketing went up slightly, so they're trying to spend a lot more money to attract more clients. Research and development went up slightly. General administrative, they tried to save themselves a little bit of money there, fire a few people. We really need a paper pusher when one guy could probably do the best of both worlds. General administrative costs were about $413 million. You got to write that off against the income. How much did they make? $4.1 million. That was their net income. That's not very good. $4 million. You really want to pay $4 million, or you want to own a company at 32 billion that's making $4 million in cash flow? That seems pretty excessive, don't it? It seems pretty excessive. So where's this EPS growth really coming from? Because it's not necessarily. I mean, it's great from the loss they experienced, in 2022 for sure. But let's just take a look at the interest income, because, imagine, let me just use Apple as an example here. Imagine if Apple made more money off their cash than their iPhone, because that's basically what Palantir is doing to make money right now. They have all those, that billions of dollars in cash made them $20 million for the quarter, 20.8 million to be exact. And they only brought in an income of 4.1 million. And, the total net income attributed to common stakeholders was 16.8 million. But 4 million of that, before other taxes and bullshit, was only 4 million, guys. So most of this is net interest income. So this company didn't have all that cash that they diluted you and screwed most of the early investors over on. If they didn't have that cash, they wouldn't be showing positive EPS. It's not from their business growing. I mean, well, a little bit of it is, like a tiny amount, which after the provisions and taxes and all that stuff, if it wasn't for the actual interest income, they wouldn't be cash flow positive to any real extent. So how, it's going to be neat to see when their net income actually can surpass their interest income. But for right now, this isn't an EPS story here, folks. It's just not. And if they didn't have that, something tells me, you wouldn't be seeing bullshit like this. It's going to be all net earnings or EPS, pure 100% EPS. It's like, no, they're making money off the bank. They're not making money off Palantir's $500 million of income here, folks. They're not making any money off this yet. Well, they're making 4 million, but I'm not going to pay a $30 billion valuation for that. And look, I'm saying this because the revenue growth just isn't there, in my humble opinion. At least it's not there yet. And we really got to speculate. You really got to be in the weeds with this company to understand, the moat they have with their technology. Is there no competition? Do they have these patents? How solid are those patents? Are they like, they're releasing software like crazy? Their clients are what? Military, government. I mean, what else are we talking about? Big corporate, huge company. Like, how big is that marketplace? Like, how saturated is it? How much can we take of it? I don't know any of that, so I won't buy it. But for a company that was growing at 50%, like what? I mean, literally an odd year or two ago, it's now down to revenue growth of 17.71%. And that's still pretty great revenue growth, don't get me wrong, but for the valuation and just the way this company is today, why is it slowing down so much? I mean, again, we could talk about companies that are in the software space. I don't know how similar they are, but you look at Shopify. This one is just approaching the retail person like me. Like, hey, I want to be able to make a website, sell my products. Well, boom, we got a huge market share that we have approachable here. And even in this slowdown environment, we're still making 25% this year on the first quarter of revenue growth. That's pretty astounding. That's record revenues for Shopify, and even Tesla for that matter. Tesla's a massive company. It's very speculative in nature on their future. Like, their values are pretty nutty for sure, but this company is still growing at a 24% clip. I mean, through this whole year, they've been growing incredibly, and this isn't a company that's easy to grow at that clip. I mean, we're talking about massive manufacturing. We're not talking about a bunch of guys sitting behind a computer just making software. Like, I mean, we're talking about someone that actually has to, source thousands of parts and bring this stuff into factories. And obviously it's not a one-to-one comparison here, but let's talk about the hype. You're telling me this isn't hype? You're literally D-Castle saying, oh, this can't be hype. There's no way this is hype. It's pure bottom line. Well, you can't tell me it's not hype. Look at the AI pump here. ChatGPT started the AI pump. That was literally the reason why. And now AI is like the most talked about search topic of everyone at their summer outings, their barbecue. And no, everyone and their grandmother can't shut up about this anymore. You know what it sounds familiar to? Maybe it sounds familiar to crypto. You remember when everyone and their grandmother couldn't shut up about crypto? And what happened to that? It kind of got pretty quiet, didn't it? What else was there? Oh, VR. You remember when everyone and their grandmother couldn't shut up about VR? And look at, I mean, look at VR peaked last year, and it's been kind of a steady downtrend ever really since, right? So, is it a pump? There's no way this is a pump. There's no way Palantir is a pump. It's not going to dump. It's just going to go to the moon. If you're listening to people like Jeremy from Financial Education, don't get me wrong. You just got to approach it like a casino here, baby. I think 5 years I could be completely wrong about Palantir. I don't know. Nobody knows. But that's why you have to approach it like a casino. If you think you know, don't bet any more than you're willing to lose on a game of roulette. I mean, you take 5 or 10% of your portfolio, you speculate on it. There's nothing wrong with that by any metric. I'm just trying to save the clowns from putting all their money in it, like the Dogecoin millionaire did and didn't take any profit. You double your money in a year if you're smart enough to get in before, after the dump, and you made some money, get out. Now, I think there's better sectors to get higher returns in this current macro environment. Don't get me wrong, there's probably some small AI players that have been undiscovered that if you dig around, you might see some really great returns from, but go look at like even mining, because people just wrote off the metals market, the commodities market. People, they're not really paying attention to some of these new technologies in the plastic space that I've been talking about on this channel. But that is, again, just my opinion. I am just but one man, one clown in the spectrum of financial gurus out there. So I would love to know what you think as entertainment value in that comment section below, because God knows this is not financial advice. Don't lose your shirt, folks. Don't bet the farm. Just enjoy yourselves. Put some of the money into index funds. Take some profit. Buy some S&P. You won't regret it. I don't think you'll regret it. But stay cool. Stay awesome. As always, folks, I'll catch you in the next one.